Hi everyone, this is Meteorologist Joel Curtis with your aviation weather for Wednesday, August 7th. Starting out with our flying weather for Thursday morning. First of all, we have IFR off the Chukchi Sea coast and Beaufort Sea, as well as coming on into the Seward Peninsula, also some IFR in the far western Aleutians, all along the western and central Alaska range, a little bit down by Cape Newenham or so. Gulf of Alaska is IFR, especially Prince William Sound with all that moisture coming on shore. And then right off the coast, a little marginal VFR as you get further inland into the Panhandle. Also some marginal VFR as you get onshore into Cook Inlet. And also in southwestern Alaska, Alaska Peninsula, and on up into the Kotzebue area as well. For Thursday afternoon, now I've got a chance of thunderstorms in there. We had some weird thunderstorms up in the northwest last night, and there's just enough indication in the models that you really should be on the lookout for any buildups. They're going to be isolated enough that you'll be able to see and avoid. So we have IFR off the Arctic coast, off the North Slope, but generally VFR over much of the state. IFR out over the Bering Sea, as well as up to St. Lawrence Island and Nunivak Island. We have some marginal VFR, and then we have marginal VFR up through the Alaska Range into Cook Inlet, also Prince William Sound, and then there's that area IFR, and that's that moisture feed from the Gulf that we've been having for the last few days. Also marginal VFR as you get onto the Gulf Coast and into the Panhandle a little bit. And then for Friday morning, I took the thunderstorms out, but some IFR along the Brooks Range off the Arctic coast, also out over the Bering Sea, lots of marginal VFR around those areas and down all along the west coast, up into the south central Alaska, including Cook Inlet, Kodiak Island, and also down to the Alaska Peninsula. Again, that moisture feed has moved a little bit to the east, and so it's going to still be affecting at least eastern Prince William Sound, all along the Gulf Coast like Yakutat area, and then on up to the Panhandle coast, and then marginal VFR is working its way inland on the Panhandle. Now I put a slight chance of thunderstorms back in the forecast. If I had to pick out one area that you might see some buildups, that would be the Brooks Range. But otherwise, we've got IFR off the Arctic coast, the marginal VFR up to the coast, Kotzebue area, western Seward Peninsula, along the west coast, but generally holding off the coastline there. Lots of VFR over the state. IFR out with the next weather system coming up into the Bering Sea. Also, we have, again, that moisture feed is still going on in the Gulf of Alaska with some IFR all along the outer Gulf Coast, marginal VFR as you get further inland, including on up into the Lynn Canal and lots of the Panhandle. So for our past conditions at Anaktuvik, looking tomorrow, Thursday, let's go with VFR, but keep an eye out for buildups. Same thing with Adigan Pass, VFR with maybe some towering cumulus, possibly a slight chance of a thunderstorm. For Lake Clark and Merrill Pass, I've got turbulence in the area. We're going from IFR in the morning to VFR in the afternoon for those two passes, but again, it's going to be turbulent all day. And then also for Rainy Pass, IFR becoming marginal VFR in the afternoon, again with turbulence. Windy Pass, IFR becoming marginal VFR with turbulence. Then we've got Isabel Pass, marginal VFR all day, but looking again at some turbulence. Also from Antasta Pass, turbulence, but VFR conditions. And then for Tahitna Pass, IFR looking like all day long and turbulent. And the same thing for Portage, IFR all day long and turbulent. And then for Chilkoot and White Pass, marginal VFR in the morning becoming VFR in the afternoon. And so for our freezing levels, we just have a large area in the east of up to 14,000 feet. And then as you go westward, finally dropping down to about 6,000 feet in western Alaska, and then you drop down to about 2,000 feet in far northeastern Russia. And then this sets up our icing for Thursday. I've got a couple of areas of considerable moderate. One, the Prince William Sound area, also on over to about Portage or so, and then all along the Alaska Range, central and western Alaska Range, and then isolated moderate, and that'll be freezing level to about 180 in the east. But then also there's a bit of a front that's moved up to the western coast, and that would be above 6,000 feet. Again, isolated moderate. And then there's the signature up to 10,000 feet of that system moving into the western Bering. So for our jet stream, there's our old friend, the southerly jet stream. This has been a very persistent feature, straight up but north and south over Alaska. The max up as you get up out over the Brooks Range or so, about 100 knots or so, also 100 knots over the central interior, and then about 95 knots as you get further south out in the Gulf. Then the next jet stream that's out over the west is up with the core of that jet about 130 knots at 30,000 feet. Then we get down to 9,000 feet. You see streaks of wind going across Alaska. Generally there's one core about 45 knots, still a little bit west of the Alcan or so, and then out of the Gulf about anywhere to 30 to 40 knots. And then you can see those westerlies kicking in over the Bering Sea, and that is beginning to affect the Alaska Peninsula and the Pribilofs. And then for our 3,000 foot winds, not a whole lot going on, but what I don't like about this is it's westerlies and it's hitting the terrain. So that's why we have turbulence in the forecast, a couple of lows at about 3,000 feet, and then you can see some wind making into the Aleutians ahead of that next system that's coming in. So this sets up our turbulence. First of all, you always have some turbulence in your towering cumulus clouds or cumulonimbus. So if you see any buildups, those will obviously be turbulent. So what we're looking is about surface to about 12,000 feet for those areas, but then surface to about 7,000 feet as you get further south, Prince William Sound, and then all along the Alaska Range. So anywhere the terrain hits, that's where the wind, some of those are going to be westerlies, some of those are going to be southerlies, but they're going to hit the terrain and give you at least a little bit of isolated moderate turbulence. So that's it for your aviation forecast. Be sure to file a flight plan and fly safe out there.